Civil disobedience and climate change. According to the UN, 3/4 of land-based environment and about 66% of marine environment have been significantly altered by human actions. And this is clearly seen as even when I walk on the school trail this morning, I found this much trash on the trail, just in a school environment. Climate change has become a major hot topic across the entire world due to its significant impacts on many everyday lives. Conservation and protest activities have exploded in recent years due to its severe consequences. This is where civil disobedience comes in. It grants citizens the power within democracies to fight for change of things they believe in to be unjust, even if it requires the actions being against the law. Some of the major perspectives explored throughout this question are the scientific and individual activist point of views. These viewpoints have proved to have a variety of opinions involve the power of civil disobedience. Many experts working within the field of climate change, commerce to conservation, have expressed the importance of civilian exercising civil disobedience, even as going as far to urge the fight for changes of current environmental policies. They have expressed that if nothing changes soon, many economic, environmental, and human health damages could be irreversible. Although many economic aspects of climate change are from corporation greed, not worrying about the carbon footprint, making climate change harder to change as they hold a lot of power. Potential solutions have been suggested through the research perspectives, including the use of social media endorsement and scientific platforms. Social media is a strong tool that can be used to encourage social intervention through climate change activism. Scientific platforms such as through news networks or personal statements are very effective due to the amount of trust the public puts into scientific research and opinions. Implications of these perspectives include the use and access of modern technology and news sources. In today's world, around half of the population have access to social media through modern technology such as the iPhone, which allows it to be a powerful tool to encouraging social intervention for climate change. Using news sources as platforms can be great implication for trusted scientists, such as Dr. Fauci during quarantine. He used his expertise on NPC to voice his opinion and research to the entirety of the US involving COVID-19. This could be used for climate scientists to encourage civil disobedience or inform the public. Some of the limitations of these perspectives include the use of new biases and untrusting in climate change. Many news sources used to inform about climate change use biases to enhance their agendas to the population. This could be used by asking biased questions to scientists or getting untrusted surveys. Social media may be ineffective due to there being a chunk of people who believe climate change is not real or see social media as a place of misinformation. These two stimulus articles I used to create my question were The Moral Courage and Intelligent Disobedience, and Elise Corbell's A Small Measure of Justice. These two materials have a thematic connection as both emphasize the activism against policies or powers that support ideas that are seemingly wrong against a social aspect of democracy. This idea from sources can be tied back to climate change activism as they participate in civil disobedience through protests to take stance against the undervalued problem of global warming, despite having to influence or go against democratic governmental bodies. This leads to my research question of, to what extent is civil disobedience through activism protests for climate change necessary for a working democratic government? My first reasoning in my argument is the ability to change current climate change policies to prevent any tyranny activity from a government. Civil disobedience, in the example of climate change, greatly shows how democratic tendencies allow for the ability to alter current policies to prevent governmental tyranny. Having the power as a citizen to actively engage in civil disobedience in the form of protests of an unjust law or policies creates the ability of a smaller group to express their opinions within a government. This stops the oppression of minorities and abuse of majority. This is the photo of Officer Dick Middleton sending a dog upon a 15-year-old Walter Gateson during civil rights protests on May 4th, 1963. This is an extreme but important demonstration of the necessity of civil disobedience. Images like these were able to really get the ball rolling for equal rights for African Americans in the democratic government of the United States. It demonstrates how the use of citizen power can lead to the change of unjust laws or policies. This is a more modern visual example of civil disobedience. As published by the Washington Post, it states, outside the Washington offices of the world's largest asset management company. They sang songs enchanted to the beat of drums for 2 hours at the Wells Fargo's bank branch. Protesters chained themselves to the door, blocking all entrances and exits. This is an example that shows civil disobedience protests were able to gain publicity to influence or raise public pressures towards policymakers for more favorable climate change policies. My second reasoning for my argument is the stimulation of the ability to exercise governmental participation within a democratic government. The protests of Ende Galante are a great example of using political participation in a form of civil disobedience to enforce a pro-environmental ideology as they protest at German coal mines. Patrick Schwarfer, along with 2 researchers working in the Department of Economics and Social Sciences for the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, state in an in-depth interview they highlight defending livelihood or their own lives, preventing the destruction of the environment, acting as representatives for humans, animals, and the nature or future generations, building up political pressures on a humane life. The protests are expressing through citizen participation that they are not only defending their lives but also the people of the future. They also emphasize the use of freedom of speech and civil disobedience through citizen participation to spread out power within a democratic system. This is a visual of Ende Galante in which thousands of German environmental activists are being shown protesting coal use. This movement started and grown across Europe, which in return has highlighted the power political participation can have upon a government. To implement my claim, I believe in the use of educational institutions, my claim is that civil disobedience is extremely necessary for a democratic system. I believe the use of educational institutions to teach civil disobedience and what it's being used for. Schools should educate students on the movements such as climate change ones, but rather not persuade them to take a side, but instead leave their opinions open for their fit ideologies. A major limitation that has been brought up throughout my claim was the fact in recent climate change protests have hurt public views on civil disobedience. This is due to their creating traffic and damaging public arts, which has caused many inconveniences to citizens just trying to get to work. Despite these inconveniences causing some troubles, these actions are necessary to ensure public urgency is acknowledged about the dangers of climate change. These acts of disobedience spark tons of media talk and attention from citizens or officials. They are using their bases, like many other major movements, to gain public awareness and hopefully apply pressures to changes in the current system. Civil disobedience through climate change activism is extremely necessary for a working democracy. Through this presentation, it may lead you wondering if you are involved enough in changes you believe should be made. That's how we're saying.
You ready for your oral defense?
Yeah.
Okay. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
My research question evolved as I started very broad, only talking about how governments were influenced by civil disobedience, but I incorporated climate change as it became a major topic recently, and many different resources have talked about how climate change had substantial parts to do with civil disobedience and changing governmental policies.
Okay. And what are the implications of your findings to your community?
Well, what I found is that using civil disobedience in the community, such as around here in Milton or Cambridge, you can fight for changes, such as on the trail. You can see that it has become very overflowing with trash, which could be hurting our ecosystem. And through civil disobedience, we can fight for a more cleanup or changes to littering policies for Cambridge and Publix.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.